Hey there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here. I'm going to do some pretty quick videos tonight because the price list will go out as normal tomorrow. That is Wednesday, the 15th of October at 9 p.m. And I know it's the first price list in 4 or 5 weeks, but I've been away, as you know. So this is a genre list, jazz, blues, soul and funk. If you're catching these videos for the first time and would like to be on the price list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to try and be super quick. So I might not go into as much detail as I would normally, but I hope you understand why. I'm using this as my way of avoiding jet lag and not going to bed too early. All right, we're going to start with a couple of Kenny Burrell records. Now, Kenny Burrell, wonderful, mellow, cool jazz guitarist. This is introducing Kenny Burrell. Kenny Burrell, Tommy Flanagan, Paul Chambers, Kenny Clark, Candido on conga drums. There was this period of Blue Note kind of heaven where they would introduce these congas and this kind of feel, and it just made the music so more playful. I love it. Kenny Burrell made lots of great records. So he came out of Detroit and had a really cool mix of kind of, bop, but also blues, and really tasteful. I love his stuff. He'd already been quite successful up until the point where this record was released, but this leaves room for horns and the congas. It's just a masterclass, and I think that this particular Japanese press, which I've had for a long time myself, it's really easy to listen to day to day. I had a US press of this that I didn't like as much, even though it was cut a lot hotter. This one's a little bit more mellow, and I think it really, really works. For those of you who like jazz guitar, I cannot recommend that highly enough. Now, in the box where that came from, there were 2 copies of this record, and one is going straight onto my shelf, and the other will go to one of you. And it is this, John Jenkins with Kenny Burrell. This is of the same series. In fact, this one is BLP 1523. This is BLP 1573. Again, beautiful liner notes from Ira Gittler. Now, John Jenkins was also from Chicago. Maybe that's how, or not from Detroit. He was from Chicago, and he was influenced by Charlie Parker. You can really hear that in his playing. I don't think he appeared on many records at all in this Blue Note sequence. Let me just read out who's on this because it's pretty cool. John Jenkins on alto sax, Kenny Burrell guitar, Sonny Clark on piano, Paul Chambers again on bass, and Danny Richmond on drums. It's really sweet. If you really, I had this downloaded for my trip to Sicily so I could get familiar with it. I really like it. It's a little bit more obscure than introducing Kenny Burrell, but in many ways I think it works. It smokes a lot more than introducing Kenny Burrell. It is not quite as mellow. It's really, really fun. Now, talking about smoking, this is one of my favorite James Brown records from 1973, the soundtrack to Slaughter's Big Ripoff, the original Japanese first press hard cardboard gatefold. This is getting increasingly hard to get because people don't want to sell it. This, whilst it is a soundtrack, trust me on this, this really leans into that hard kind of vamping funk side, the snare heavy backbeats, that chicken scratch guitar, the bass lines really bubble along on this, the horns are great. This is as good as anything he did in his classic run of Payback and all that kind of that era. It's really cool. I know it's been poured over by the hip hop heads for various samples and loops. It's great. If you don't know it, give it a listen. I love that Japanese press. It's fan-bloody-tastic. All right, I've got a run of reggae records now. 2 of these will need no introduction. It's Exodus and Burnin' by Bob Marley and the Wailers, or in this case, it was credited just to the Wailers. Burning, probably in my top 2 or 3 of the Wailers' discography. It's just a brilliant, brilliant record. Now, this run of represses, you can see the obies are a little bit unusual. They're kind of on the right hand side as you look at the record. I'm not quite sure why they made those selections, but they've got the blue island label. They sound absolutely great as usual. If you haven't got high quality pressings of Bob Marley, these Japanese pressings are so much better than anything I've heard. Even the UK press, even though UK copies of those records are seriously expensive, these Japanese ones are really warm, really great. The albums themselves, full of cultural context, just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant albums. Particularly that 1973 album Burnin', that features Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. I have a Bunny Wailer coming up in the next few weeks from my UK collection. All the UK stuff's going to start from next week. All right, now I've got a couple of UK presses now, actually. These are the first selections from my suitcase of UK records that I brought back. This is Gregory Isaac's Slum in Dub. There's the orange label. I'm not quite sure what year this came out. Let me see if it's on the label. It's not, as is pretty typical. So Gregory Isaac's in Dub. So, for those of you who know this era, Gregory Isaacs is one of the legends of this kind of crossover period of roots reggae into modern kind of culture, but he really leaned into dub, and he really liked a style of dub that's really skeleton, really pared down, really echo chambery. The bass lines drop in and out, a little bit of melodica, a little bit of guitar, which I really, really like. So if you are into that scene, then this is really cool. And then the second record here I have is kind of similar. They kind of go together. This is Prince Lincoln Thompson and the Royal Rasses, and this is his record Experience. Again, I'm not sure of the year. I'll have to check those out when I do the price list tomorrow. But this is much more devotional, more urgent, more rootsy, as opposed to dubby. Both fantastic records in their own right, though. And UK presses really lean into the bass. So you really get that warm, kind of throbby sound. It's really, really great. Prince Lincoln as well. What's distinctive about him is the melody, the harmonies. That kind of stacked 3-voice harmony style. It's just really cool. All right, I've got a couple of blues records now before we get into some jazz. I've got Bad Influence by the Robert Cray Band with Obi. He is credited with modernizing a lot of the blues sound into the 80s, that clean tone, that kind of song first writing as opposed to guitar riff or guitar solo writing. He had the lovely rock soul crossover voice as well. This is the one before Persuader, which broke big, but I think Bad Influence is the record that put, kind of Robert Cray on notice. It's super tight. It's obviously highly influenced by Stax, which I really like. Tunes like Phone Booth just feel like they could be classic Stax songs from the 70s. Critics loved it. There's no cliches. It's not about getting drunk. It's just really cool music. His Strat sound doesn't get old. I've got a couple of his records. Now this is really cool. This is the only white label promo tonight. It is the white label promo of B.B. King's Live at the Regal. From Indianola, Mississippi to Beale Street in Chicago. This guy is a legend live at the Regal. Captured him in full throb. This would normally be the pink probe label, but this is even better because it's the white label version prior to the pink probe label. How blue can you get? Every day I have the blues. I think it's my favorite. I think they're definitive versions. It's on basically every best live album list. Give it a listen if you don't know it. And this IPP 464 pressing, it's super quiet. It's just brilliant. I love it. You can even hear people clinking glasses. It's really something. All right, I've got a few various interesting ones to finish on tonight. I've got this, which I've been sitting on for a while, but it's time to put it out there. This is Herbie Hancock's Speak Like a Child. This is a brilliant album. You all know how much I love Herbie Hancock. This record is not one of his most lauded, but I think it's one of his best. This is a really nice, kind of interesting kind of gatefold. You can see the liner notes kind of fold in like this. I love the back side of it as well. It's really harmonic, really lush. The horns are kind of unusual. They're not typical. I think you can tell that he's experimenting and just enjoying what he's doing with his acoustic writing on this record. The rhythms are not quite what you get in the kind of classic funk era, but I think it's just, it's a really interesting record. Give it a listen. Very, very much a late evening chill out record. And this pressing sounds brilliant too. The reviews are off the charts. All right, here's one I've been looking for a really long time, and I've only just found it. And it's because I had an Antonio Carlos Jobim record, and one of you, you know who you are, came round and said, you should get Tied. And so here it is. This is the Poet from Rio's kind of most famous album. This is refining kind of orchestral bossa nova into something that leans more to jazz. The arrangements are spectacular. It has that gently propulsive percussion. It's just really cool music. A complete connoisseur's record. I'm not sure if this is the Japanese first press or not. I'm going to have to investigate that for you, but it's in lovely, lovely condition. There we have Antonio Carlos Jobim's Tied. And then finally, something I have never had before, and it would be interesting to see whether there's any interest in this whatsoever. This is You by the Incredible String Band. This is double album on hard cardboard gatefold. I've never had anything like this come in a box before. There's a little note on the back that says, a surreal parable in song and dance concept by the Incredible String Band. I had to do a little bit of research, so I knew nothing about this. But effectively, a Scottish band, really into kind of 60s acid folk, very ambitious, very theatrical kind of storytelling. This is the album version of what was kind of like what I could almost describe as a stage show. Very, very, very unusual. I've never seen these Japanese presses. Has this even the inserts kind of unusual? This yellow thing. Got all the lyrics. This really is, and interestingly, if you look it up, there's a bunch of people who kind of rave about this, right? There's a scene in the UK, they're really into these guys. So yeah, the Incredible String Band is something new and interesting for you all. Right, that is it for the genre list tonight. I'm going to quickly upload this. I will have an email out as usual this evening before I go to bed, and the price list will go out at 9 p.m. tomorrow. That's Sydney time here in Australia. at 9 p.m. Sydney time. Price list will go out. Please respond first serve as always. First response, first serve. If you would like to be on the price list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. I'm quickly going to do the rock and pop list now. Let's get some good stuff. Thank you. Bye.